Cover on today's program, ladies and gentlemen, we'll highlight the Mel's Cafe GoFundMe. It's slowing down. I would like to see it pick back up. Roughly 8,000 raised of 20,000. The family is doing a GoFundMe to try to save Mel's Cafe. We'll talk about this GoFundMe today. We'll ask some fair questions about the GoFundMe. We will also talk on today's program, and if you take a look at the screen for the headlines, about the Ivy League student earnings 10 years post-graduation and put those in perspective. We'll highlight Nate Kibler, the newest show on our network, the White Mountain Ministry Show, and we'll have a replay on Sunday. And how about the Western Albemarle High School tennis team? 7 straight state championships. I mean, this is a dynasty of unbelievable proportions. The head coach is friend of the program, Ron Manella. A lot we're going to cover on the program, the Friday edition of the I Love CVille show with yours truly and Judah Wickower. Once he gets that headline in place, we will rock and roll when you're ready. Those properties the University of Virginia has purchased are on Arlington Boulevard. Arlington Boulevard. I think probably the most noteworthy property is the UVA Community Credit Union building. So this is kind of right across from the McDonald's and where Buffalo Wild Wings used to be.
Which spot do you want it in?
In place of the Yunkin one, electric vehicle. That one intrigued me the least. If that intrigued you, we can certainly offer some perspective on it. But that one intrigued me the least. Like and share the show. Judah, we need to rock and roll here when you're ready. John Blair, good to see you, my friend.
Quiet on the set.
Thank you very much. Good Friday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. We enjoy connecting with you through the I Love CVille network. We're in our studio in downtown Charlottesville, and the goal of the program is to highlight community fodder in an educating, entertaining, and enlightening format. We're live on all social platforms and podcasting platforms, and we encourage you, the viewer and listener, to ask questions or hold us accountable, shape the discussion, just kind of influence the show. We want that. We just want to be the water cooler of conversation. A couple of programming notes that I want to get to first. I thought today's program with Neil Williamson and Ned Galloway, this morning, Real Talk with Keith Smith. Keith Smith's on vacation, enjoying his honeymoon with his anniversary with his wife. I believe it's their 38th anniversary there in St. Martin. So in Keith's steed, Ned Galloway, Albemarle County Supervisor, Rio District, and Neil Williamson, President of the Free Enterprise Forum, joined us on set. I thought the show was fantastic, start to finish. When Supervisor Galloway and Neil Williamson get together on the show, it's just fantastic. Both guys are stand-up guys. I also want to encourage you, the viewer and listener, if you're interested in real estate and housing and zoning and the economics of bringing projects to market, I very much encourage you to watch and listen to the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show, yesterday's program. Richard Price, an architect and developer, was on the show, as was Roger Voisinay, a realtor and developer. They talked about a project in the Woolen Mills area, land that Roger Voisinay owns himself, and they highlight the trials and tribulations of bringing a small project to market. We're talking one house that's on the lot and the opportunity to build 4 additional structures, roughly 1,500 square feet with a basement, that they hope sometime next year to bring to market in the $600,000 range. Now, it sounds expensive, $600,000 for a 1,500 square foot house with a basement on a very small lot, but they put in perspective of why it's really today's reality. They explain the economics, they explain the carrying costs. Roger's bringing these 4 new units to market in the Woolen Mills in a lot of ways by being entrepreneurial. He's covering architect Richard Price's hourly rate by offering him a discount on one of the lots himself. So Richard's going to purchase one of these 4 lots, and he's going to buy it below market as a way for Roger not to have much carrying costs associated with an architect's fees. He's also Roger has with a builder, and he's offering a similar format to the builder who's going to make the 4 units a reality. So this may be the Roger Voisinet and Richard Price project in the Woolen Mills. It very well could be the first iteration, the first proof of performance of upzoning in the city of Charlottesville. And it is being executed by individuals that have vast institutional memory and nuance of how to make this project a reality. A portion of yesterday's show, either Richard or Roger highlighted, look, if we didn't have this kind of insider information, insider's not the right word, if we didn't have this institutional memory or this experience, we would not be able to do this project at this level of efficiency, navigate the red tape, or bring the inventory, the product type to market at this price point. Listen to the show if this is the kind of stuff that intrigues you. It was one of the best shows and interviews we have done, Richard Price and Roger Voisinet. All right, a lot we're going to cover on the program. I'm going to weave Judah Wickower in here in a matter of moments. I want to give you some quick hitters before we do. The newest show on the I Love CVille network is a show hosted by Nate Kibler. It's called the White Mountain Ministries Show. It will replay on Sunday mornings. And I encourage you to support Nate Kibler in his journey not only in launching a digital or virtual church on the I Love CVille network, but the Kibler family in general is doing some very special things for humanity, for mankind, for the Central Virginia population and beyond, and they need support with their nonprofit. So it's the White Mountain Ministries Show, a replay this Sunday. We have a baseball team that opens super regional play this evening, esta noche, 7 o'clock, first pitch. I think instead of ESPNU, Judah, it's actually on ESPN2, and that was my mistake. I apologize on that. If you can adjust the headlines on screen from ESPNU, which is tomorrow's network, for the 3 o'clock game, and Sundays, if you need it, will also air on ESPNU. Tonight is in prime time, ESPN2, for Virginia baseball as they make a push for Omaha. If they beat Kansas State in the Super Regionals at the Dish starting tonight at 7 o'clock, it will be the 3rd time in 4 years UVA baseball has advanced to Omaha in the College World Series. And I'll give you this statistic one more time. Sit back and listen to this one. Brian O'Connor and Virginia baseball, since Coach O'Connor took the job here in Charlottesville, they are the winningest program in college baseball across the entire country, all of college baseball. I'll say that again. Since Brian O'Connor took this job 2 decades plus ago, his team, UVA, has the most wins in all of college baseball. Absolutely amazing. The national champion head coach, Brian O'Connor, and his program. All right, first headline. Get ready for this one. I'll weave you in, Judah Wickower, on this. You read the article as well. This article was fantastic. It was written by an Albemarle County high school senior. And her name is Anna, how do you think I would pronounce Zheng? Zhang?
Zhang.
Zhang?
Yeah.
Anna Zhang, the editor-in-chief of the Albemarle County, call it a newspaper. Do we still call them newspapers if they're primarily online? Their paper is called The Revolution. It's the official student news. They call it a news source. Maybe we call it news source. The official student news source of Albemarle High School. It's called The Revolution. Mm-hmm. And the editor-in-chief, Anna Zhang, writes a story on buybacks, attendance buybacks. I didn't even know this was an option. So yeah. I'll set the stage and then weave you in, okay? I'll read directly from Miss Zhang's commentary. This is a commentary piece that she's writing as editor-in-chief. She says this: attendance buybacks have started up again, but they continue to be a waste of time and resources. Albemarle County Public Schools' solution to student chronic absenteeism, known as buybacks, allows students who miss over 10 periods of class to make up 3 absences by staying after school for 1 afternoon. At buyback days, students are expected to do work for their classes, but aside from a no phone rule, there is little stopping students from doing non-academic activities at that time. She continues with her commentary by writing this: Albemarle High School's chronic absenteeism rate doubled to nearly 20% after the pandemic, a bit below the national average of 29.7%. This is my commentary now. The national average of absenteeism at public schools is 29.7%. That's 1 in 3 students.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
bananas. Now, I'll get back to her commentary, and Judah, I'll weave you in the mix to jump in here. Director, producer, broadcaster, Judah Whitcower.
That was, just to point out, that was for the 21-22 school year.
Correct.
I don't know.
21-22. I was going to get to that. That's absolutely correct. You would think, though, that the absenteeism, we would hope, has improved because the 2021-2022 school year was COVID.
Yeah.
You hope.
And she notes further down that it has improved for AHS.
Okay, at Albemarle High School.
From that high of 20%.
Okay, so I'll read it again. Albemarle High School's chronic absenteeism rate doubled to nearly 20% after the pandemic, a bit over the national average of 29.7% in the 21-2022 school year. Students who are chronically absent miss at least 10%, 18 days of the academic year for any reason, according to the Virginia Department of Education, VDOE. Remember that acronym, VDOE. Chronic absenteeism is linked to the obvious: academic performance, low test scores, dropping out of high school, poor outcomes later in life. That's a no-duh type of statement. As Judah highlighted, Albemarle High School's rate at 15%, that equates to about 300 chronically absent students at risk of these consequences. So it has improved, is what she's highlighting here. Here's the kicker, okay? Basically, kids can go after school for a very short period of time and make up a large portion of missed class time. And you might ask the question, why is that the case? I asked that question. She answers it here, then I'll weave you in. Among other academic indicators, the VDOE, the Virginia Department of Education, get ready for this, Virginia Department of Education grants accreditation to schools based on rates of chronic absenteeism and on-time graduation. Understandably, ACPS, Albemarle County Public Schools, is under pressure to stay accredited. So it has prioritized graduation rates. This is social promotion here.
Understandably.
Understandably. Unfortunately, we seem, she says, to only want the appearance of academic success rather than reality. This article is fantastic, written by a student. I want to unpack it on the show as the lead of the Friday edition of the program. Judah, you go anywhere you want to go, and I have some commentary to offer as well.
I mean, I feel like the schools are in a really hard position here, and they're making the best of a bad situation. It's kind of like malicious compliance, except sadly, in this case, the students are the ones that suffer for it. And it's just, I mean, obviously it's disappointing. Nobody thinks that a student who's skipping over 10 days of classes is gonna spend an hour or two after school. And as she points out in the article, you can try to force a child doing one of these buybacks to work on school projects, homework, whatever, but they've already missed the instruction.
Right. I mean, you're basically creating a smoke and mirrors system.
You're saying we're gonna make everything all right, but you're not really.
They're trying to manage perception. That's what this is.
I mean,
this is the hustler on the Manhattan street corner with the cardboard box with the ball and 3 cups, saying, "Find the ball." And you bet $20 and you get the ball right, and they're like, all right, let's make it 100. And then next thing you know, the cups are moving really fast and you got bamboozled out of $80. That's what this is. This is telling students, giving students, letting students know in advance that if you skip school and you're chronically absent, you have this escape valve. And this escape valve basically allows you to make up the time that you missed in the classroom by showing up after school in basically an unsupervised setting to make up the time, and on paper, you will head to graduation. This is smoke and mirrors.
I don't know how much it affects this. I think students that are skipping classes are not looking at this and going, "Hey, I don't know that they're that savvy."
Oh, are you? I push back on that big time. I think to call students, because they skip class, lacking sophistication and savvy, I think that is a disservice.
I didn't say it just because they're skipping class.
Are you saying it's students in general?
No, I'm saying that.
Students know how to play the game. Dude, when maybe you and I are wired differently.
But do you
15, 16, 17, 18-year-old, I saw all the loopholes when it came to the school. All the loopholes.
Okay.
Students you give an inch. Dude, I'm seeing it with our 6-year-old right now. You give our 6-year-old an inch, he's taken a yardstick. I can't imagine 16, 17, and 18-year-olds when you're basically said, here's your free pass, a buyback. You can skip class basically if you want to and just come after school at an unsupervised setting, and on paper you will be on track. Especially students that are coming from households that do not have stability of parenting or actively involved parents. Academic performance is as much the student's responsibility as it is oversight from parents and guidance from teachers, administrators, and support staff. I'm seeing that with a kid in kindergarten right now. Our youngster in kindergarten right now is in a fantastic academic setting. We also have him working outside the classroom once a week with a teacher or a tutor, and he's in kindergarten. We do that because we love him, not because we have to. Not everyone has those opportunities or resources. You're in a single-family household, single-parent household. A great example of this, my wonderful wife, her mother was a nurse, and she worked the night shift. Now, it was a 2-parent household. My father-in-law is an amazing human being. My mother-in-law is an amazing human being. But my mother-in-law worked nights. When you work nights, when you sleep?
During the day.
During the day. When you're sleeping during the day and you happen to be the only income provider, or you're a single-parent household and you're doing this type of night work, how are you offering oversight or accountability, providing accountability for your teenager when it comes to school? They have so much leash and latitude. I think this buyback program is bogus, and Judah made a very intelligent point. You jump in here after this. Judah made an extremely intelligent point. The school itself is in a no-win situation.
I think that's often the case with public schools, sadly. What can they do? I mean, you're saying if your students aren't coming to classes, then we're going to give you less money. And I feel like it's fairly obvious that that starts a death spiral. Like, okay, you've got less money to make your school run correctly, and then what's the appeal of students sticking around? And you get more students. I don't know, but it's just crazy that they make this part of how the schools get money, and of course the schools have to respond some way. And if you want to keep the money that the government is sending you,
the school has to play the game as well.
You play the game,
and that's how the school's playing the game.
It's malicious compliance.
This is called. Have you ever seen the show The Wire?
We've talked about this before.
This is juking the stats. Bunny Colvin and juking the stats in The Wire. And juking the stats in The Wire, the HBO hit series, led to Bunny Colvin creating Hamsterdam. And Hamsterdam was a couple of streets in Baltimore where drugs and crime was legalized.
And hamsters.
And those few, that's a Judah joke right there. That's funny to only Judah. The times when Judah laughs the most are with his jokes. I appreciate that. It's an idiosyncrasy right there that I very much enjoy about you. In Bunny Colvin's Amsterdam, he legalized crime, particularly drug dealing. And he did that because he had to find a way to juke the stats. The police chief demanded that of his captains. And his way of juking the stats was not arresting people. If you're not arresting people for drug dealing in Baltimore in the show The Wire, then of course the crime rate and the arrest reports are going to go down.
Yeah.
So for a small portion of his district, he allowed an open-air drug market. And it turned out to be essentially a third world country, and it led to his demise in the fictional, although based on true life, series The Wire. I would encourage anybody to watch the show. This is juking the stats buybacks. This is figuring out an alternative path to graduation for students who are either not interested in school, do not have foundational support from parents at home, are into other things that are keeping them from success, or even showing up. You know what? I talk about this all the time. I talk about this at work. I talk about this with my kids, at wife. There's a certain percentage of life that is just about showing up. Whether it's work, whether it's your marriage, whether it's love, your friendship, what percentage, viewers and listeners, is tied to just showing up? Half, 50%? Is that higher than 50%? Maybe the remaining another 30% is doing the work. The other 20% might be God-given ability. At least half of it is just showing up to it. Juking the stats, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget those lower thirds, please. Viewers and listeners like the lower thirds. Aaron King, we appreciate you watching the program. Vanessa Parkhill, we appreciate you watching the program. We always appreciate folks like Stephanie and Neil Williamson watching the show. Viewers and listeners, if you want to learn more about buybacks, I will share the link in the comments section of my personal Facebook page now. Anything else you want to add to this, Judah? Because I value your opinion.
I mean, something obviously needs to change at a higher up place than with the schools. And, you know, I think overall, this is just, I think, one small symptom of an overall problem, because there are other areas where I think the schools are hurting students because of the rules that they're forced to follow. And I don't have full information on all that, but I know I had a friend who was a teacher giving SOL tests, and I remember hearing how horribly that was run, and that they're essentially forcing students to cram information before an SOL test just to pass these things, because they don't follow what the teachers have necessarily been teaching throughout the year. There are obviously a lot of problems with the public school system, and I don't think it all stems from the public schools themselves.
Well said. I think a lot of the problems stem from the ecosystem or environment the public schools are operating within. I shared it on the comment section of my personal Facebook page, the comment section of the I Love CVille group, the comment section of the I Love CVille Facebook page, and now I'm posting it on the Twitter thread that this show is airing upon. You should read this. It's written by a senior in high school at Albemarle. I guess she's graduated now. The editor-in-chief of the Albemarle High School News Source. No longer a newspaper. It's now a news source. I like that terminology. All right, Judah Wickhauer, the next headline, my friend, if you could let us know what it is and put it on screen, please. Is this the Mel's?
This is Save Mel's Cafe. The
Look,
GoFundMe is slowing down.
I'm torn on this. I'm very much torn on this, okay? The family, Mel Walker passed away. We talked about this on the show.
Mm-hmm.
He died in his car in the Willoughby Shopping Center, the Food Lion Shopping Center on 5th Street. He's had a restaurant that is, from my standpoint, extremely important to Charlottesville. Why it's important to Charlottesville is it's on West Main Street, which is probably the most important gateway in the city. It connects UVA to downtown West Main Street, critically important. Kathy Galvin and Heather Hill, two former city councilors, identified the importance of West Main Street, and we were huge champions of the West Main Streetscape project that had money contributed to it by VDOT and the University of Virginia. This project fell by the wayside and instead was replaced by the Buford Middle School reconfiguration project that's going on now. Students are signing their names and teachers at Buford as this project is active. They're signing it on the job site. You have Mel's, a black-owned business, and there are very few in the city of Charlottesville with this kind of tenure or longevity. Barrett's Early Learning Center, probably the only one that can match it from historical importance, a business that's still active, and it's black-owned tenure in the city. Mm-hmm. You also have the fact that it is iconic in that it served many generations of students, tourists, and townspeople alike, to use a phrase from the tavern, the breakfast spot across from Barracks Road Shopping Center, that I cried when it was torn down. I see why family are trying to save it. Tanisha Hudson, his niece, Tanisha Hudson's come on this program. Yeah. She's an activist. She's spoken before City Council hundreds of times. She sued City Council, Tanisha Hudson. City of Charlottesville, she sued. They're doing a GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. This GoFundMe, right before the show started, had less than $8,000 contributed to it, with a goal of $20,000. A couple of paragraphs written in the about portion of the GoFundMe, basically saying we're trying to save Mel's.
Yeah.
I would like to see Mel's Cafe saved. I would like to see it another 30 or 40 years, if not longer, on West Main Street. I would like to see maybe the city of Charlottesville and local government honor Mel's Cafe with more than just a commemorative plaque, like we saw with the grocery store at Tavern and Grocery that used to be a black-owned grocery store that served Vinegar Hill. I think, what are fair questions about the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And here's some of those questions. Mr. Walker does not own the building right now, nor does his family. Mm-hmm. The business is tied to Mel himself, who's now in heaven and has passed away. The thousands of dollars that are raised, roughly 8, with a goal of $20,000, what happens to that money if Mel's is not in fact saved? Mel's Cafe is currently for sale. Not just the Mel's building, but a couple of buildings around it as well. The folks that own this building have owned it for a very long time. If Mel's is purchased by another owner, is the likelihood that this stays Mel's a reality? A guaranteed reality? Maybe yes, maybe no yes. What happens to the money? I had GoFundMe questions when it applied to Reed's Market, the grocery store on Preston Avenue, where the community rallied around saving a neighborhood grocery store, where I was very straightforward. I don't think the future of Reed's Market is a grocery. The headwinds in front of a grocery store that's locally owned are significant, especially as consumer behavior changes, Instacart, online shopping, grocery delivery to your house, and frankly speaking, the socioeconomic status and demographics of the neighborhood surrounding Reed's. It's no longer a walk to the grocery store neighborhood. It's now yuppies and young professionals that are gentrifying another neighborhood, and they'd rather do some pinkies up shopping with their champagne, strawberries, and cream at Wegmans and Whole Foods, as opposed to patronizing the fantastic butcher selection and craft beer selection at Reed's. There's this crossroads of supporting locally owned businesses in the bottom of the ninth inning when their backs are against the wall, where they may not make it. where they're on the proverbial bridge, on the peak of Carter's Mountain, on the cusp of falling off the cliff to their demise. And we throw the proverbial lifeline, which is some GoFundMe donation money, to try to yank them up with the life vest, with the rope. If the GoFundMe, if Mel's is not saved, what happens to the GoFundMe dollars?
Yeah.
And last, and I'll weave you in, you go anywhere you want on this. The crystal ball on this talk show has proven to be very, very right. The batting average on our crystal ball, I'd say, is over 90%. Our free throw shooting clip with our crystal ball is like 90 to 95% accurate. The long-term likelihood of this being Mel's is probably not great. And that's very unfortunate to say. It hurts me to say that. But you went to this place to see the man as much as you went there to eat the food. And let's read the writing on the wall. That gateway on West Main Street is some of the most valuable real estate in Central Virginia, period. The project directly across from it, the Blue Moon Diner apartments and project done by Heirloom Development, an out-of-market developer, tens of millions of dollars into that project. Tens of millions. Judah Wickower, your thoughts?
Well, my curiosity stems from where the money is, what the money is supposed to be used for. I guess I just don't really understand. If Mel had not passed away, he would be continuing the business, correct? So I don't understand what's changed. If the business were to remain open, it should still be able to continue paying for itself. And so who needs the money and what do they need it for? Is this, I just don't understand. If they already have, if the people that were helping Mel run the cafe previously are still there and willing to continue the business, what is $20,000 for?
And I'll be straightforward here. $20,000 in the grand scheme of running a business in a restaurant with employees, with rent, cost of goods, overhead, electric, meals taxes. $20,000 is
A drop in the bucket.
Dude,
Yeah.
drop in the bucket. $20,000 ain't what $20,000 used to be, guys.
I mean, I would love to see Mel's continue. But I
would love to see
just-
Mel's continue.
I'm just curious what the money is for, and
Fair
I would,
questions.
And I would love to hear or see a comprehensive plan for how Mel's will continue. Obviously, somebody has to take over. Somebody has to cook. Somebody has to serve.
Someone has to be the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
The proverbial Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees, the LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers, the Brian O'Connor of Virginia baseball, the Tony Bennett of the basketball team. You know how difficult it is to replace a founder who's the namesake of the business?
And who people come to see.
Who came to see him.
Yeah, and who people say, when I come in, he knows what I order, he knows my
Right.
name.
That's what everybody highlighted when honoring him.
Yeah,
He knew my order.
right.
He recognized my voice.
Yeah.
He sat down with me. I went to see him. That's not something you put in a package or a bottle and you duplicate.
Right.
That's not something you put in a manual and teach.
And you can't turn it into a franchise.
Right.
But I could still see keeping the place open. I would love to see it stay open. But I would like to hear more.
Bingo.
And so for anyone out there who's willing to help, there is a GoFundMe.
There it is. Support the GoFundMe if you see fit. John Blair says this on LinkedIn. Jerry and Judah, the road to hell. If you want to get his photo on screen. Number 2 in the family, John Blair.
I know where this one goes.
What's that?
I know where this one goes.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
My wife and I read the article about the buyback at Albemarle County Public Schools, and we discussed it. This is literally like a baseball player missing a game, watching highlights of the game on YouTube, and getting to say that the baseball player played in the game. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
100% absurd.
Yeah.
Perfect example from JB.
And there's an extreme, there's a very extreme example of that in the students' article, where they talk about one student who, one senior at AHS missed 240 hours.
Listen to this, guys.
Of
240 hours is 6 weeks in
Of
the
class
work
time.
setting. That's 6 weeks of work time, 40-hour weeks.
This year alone. That's not through the course of like the entire.
240 hours in 1 year.
Yeah, and they had to spend, get this, 2 Saturdays and 1 after-school session for a grand total of 10 hours to buy back their attendance.
Explain that to me. Explain that to me.
240 hours? If I hadn't graduated high school and I couldn't do math, I would think that was like the entire school year.
Put the lower third, the first one on the buyback on screen. Judah, well done, Judah, making the show better. One student, it's in the article, I shared it in the comment section of my Facebook pages, I Love CVille group and I Love CVille Facebook, my Facebook, and in the Twitter stream this show is airing on. One student missed 240 hours and on 2 Saturdays and 1 after-school session made up that time.
Yeah.
What is that student destined for in life when you're missing this kind of work, this kind of school, this kind of guidance, this kind of maturation? All right, 111. What's the next headline? If you could put that on screen, please. CC Marks, thank you for watching the program.
Next is the Ivy League student headline.
All right, so I found this fascinating. We'll spend about 60 seconds on this. These are the salaries for Ivy League students that graduated from Ivy League schools, their salaries 10 years after college. 10 years after college for Ivy League students, okay? Their medians. University of Pennsylvania surprised me. It had the highest median salary 10 years after attendance, $112,761. UPenn's fantastic. It's got a great business school. Wharton's fantastic. I thought a Harvard, Princeton, or Yale would be in the number 1 slot. University of Pennsylvania, number 1, 10 years after graduating, the median salary, $112,761. Princeton University in the 2 slot, $110,433. Cornell University in the 3 slot, $98,321. 4 slot, Columbia, $97,540, $97,540. Yale next, $95,961. Dartmouth, $95,540. Harvard University in the second to last slot, still very impressive, $95,114. And Brown at $87,811. So this is roughly 31 and 32-year-olds. 2 of the Ivy League schools had median salary numbers that were over 100K, UPenn and Princeton University. Also shocking in this article, which you can find on CNBC, I will post this article in the comment section of my Facebook page right now. I'm doing that as we speak. It's going to go in the comment section of the I Love CVille Facebook page, and it's going to go in the comment section of I Love CVille group. I encourage you, when you visit this link, I'll also post it here on Twitter. Please read this. We are discussing this now on the I Love CVille VA show. I'm also startled by the amount of financial aid that is offered to these graduates. For example, Princeton University, the average annual cost at Princeton University is $8,000.
Yeah.
The average annual cost to attend Yale University is $18,000. The average annual cost to attend Harvard is $19,000. They have these perceptions of astronomically expensive experiences, but the reality is the financial aid packages are significant, and the return on investment with these median incomes over a 10-year period shows that it's it's justified to attend. What you're going to see with colleges and universities as we move more forward into this digital age, into this democratic age of learning, learning is going to become more ubiquitous, approachable, free, a democratic learning environment thanks to the internet where anyone can learn. You're going to see the Ivy Leagues and schools like the University of Virginia, UCLA, USC, Michigan, Wisconsin, schools of this ilk. They are going to keep gaining momentum and have attendance and have folks want to attend those types of university of prestige and clout. Then you'll start seeing the second tier and lower tiered schools fall by the wayside. Because what you can get from the second tier and lower tiered schools could be information you can get freely online potentially. We'll see. Next headline, Judah Wickower, if you could please, sir.
Next headline, the UVA Foundation buys Arlington Boulevard properties.
Sean Tubbs, shout out to Sean Tubbs. He's doing great work. This was in his community Substack. The University of Virginia Foundation, which pays taxes. UVA, the school itself, does not, but the foundation pays taxes. On May 31st, Sean Tubbs reports an entity called Arlington Boulevard of Charlottesville, LLC, that's the LLC, Arlington Boulevard of Charlottesville, LLC, purchased 1928, 1932, and 1936 Boulevard for $10.5 million, a total of 1.42 parcels, 3 office buildings. The seller, the UVA Credit Union, Community Credit Union, that did very well, 38.27% over the combined 2024 assessment of $7,593,900. So the Community Credit Union does well. UVA already owns the foundation, 1982 Arlington Boulevard and 2102 to 2016 Arlington Boulevard. So they're doing some assemblage of property of the foundation. You're looking at potentially another academic village like we're seeing down Ivy Road. UVA targets certain geography, certain footprints, and tries to assemble as much ownership of said footprint. I've said on this program, I'll say it again, I will say it loud, I will say it proud, I know I'm right. The University Shopping Center, home to Papa John's, home to the tennis shop, Lou Stevens, I was there yesterday, home to the former Tokyo Rose, and an eclectic retail shopping strip right by that car wash. It's a mixed-use condoed commercial building. That is one of the most valuable pieces of real estate. Developers, Hunter Craig targeting this, and certainly the UVA Foundation targeting this. And the only reason it's not under one person's ownership is because it's a mixed-use condoed building with a number of owners in association, an HOA. Basically an HOA that's muddling the waters. All right, last headline here. Nate Kibler? Is that what we got?
Yeah.
Nate Kibler's White Mountain Ministry show re-airs on Sunday. Judah's going to execute a flawless re-airing of the White Mountain Ministry show on Sunday morning. Is it 10 a.m.?
I believe so.
10 a.m., thank you. And the Virginia baseball team plays Kansas State. First pitch tonight, 7 o'clock, ESPN2. They make a push to Omaha. If O'Connor gets there, his 3rd time in 4 years. This guy's beast mode. Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, the Friday edition of the I Love CVille show. So long, everybody.